Hello and welcome to the Ramble on. Now, full disclosure, this is going to be spoilers. Of course, by the time we finish and upload this video, I'm sure half of you saw the movie already, if not once or even twice. So, but still, to the rest of you who haven't seen the movie,
I hope they remember you.
Oh, thanks. You were forewarned.
Yeah. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. And this movie has nothing but spoilers from basically the first minute of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that with this movie, our rating is going to be kind of obvious because it's like the big tentpole movie of the year. Of course, it's going to have some obvious things, like, of course, we're going to say, well, it's a Marvel movie, so not that great of a story.
Right.
Of course, we're going to say, yeah, the effects are great because they threw the entire budget of the last 20 years at this.
Yeah.
And, so on like that.
So on.
So, but I think the format I'd like to go with then is talk about nitpicks that we didn't like first. Well, actually, hold on. Let's go with just overall impressions of the movie first before we get to nitpicks and stuff. So, did you like Avengers Endgame?
I give it an A. I enjoyed it.
I did enjoy Avengers Endgame as well. I think it has some structural issues, and I think that there is kind of an issue where I'm not comparing it with real boy movies. I'm comparing it with Marvel movies for the way I feel about it. So I think that I'll have to take some time to discuss it as if it's a real boy movie and not a Marvel fanboy movie.
I'll have to ask you to elaborate, like what these standards are, like boy movie and what have you. And
not boy movie, but a real boy movie. Like, this is the kind of movie we say, oh, that's cute. It thinks it's a movie.
And we have seen plenty of those in our time.
well, we've seen some of those, but I feel like the entire brand of Marvel is built on this idea that they're not real movies, they're just comic book adaptations, so it's okay that they're missing things like interesting characters or plots, or plots you can understand without seeing the other 15 fucking movies. So speaking of that then, since we both did kind of give our thumbs up to saying that, yeah, it's a pretty good movie, I do want to jump into first the negatives, since I feel like we should start with negatives, work our way into positives, since that kind of gets the taste of that bad out of your mouth.
Right, and on a high note.
So the first thing I want to say, I did not like Captain Deus Ex Marvel in this movie. She, unfortunately, in the previous movie for Captain Marvel, she is teased as being like this major player in Endgame. She's teased as being one of the people that's still around after the snap. And she kind of fills that role in this movie. Except she only shows up to solve problems that can't be solved by the other heroes. Like, they even have like a joke during the movie where she kind of just says, yep, sorry, I'm busy with the other planets, I'll come back later when it's really important and you definitely need me. And then she comes back when it's really important and they definitely need her. Like, she's not there for 90% of the movie.
I'll agree with you on this one. That actually annoyed me because, really, she's the muscle. She is the ultimate weapon against this threat.
Well, she's the Superman problem, because it's just like with Justice League, where every time Superman shows up, everyone else becomes invalidated and kind of a shitty hero by comparison. And
we did see it coming in the previous Captain Marvel movie, but we were hoping for a little bit more screen time with Captain Marvel.
No, yeah, she's barely a character in this movie. She's just kind of a force that exists in this movie.
Which is a little disappointing. I was hoping for a little more Captain Marvel because
it's disappointing, and it underplays all the other heroes and their accomplishments when they are on the back of this character who, if you haven't seen the previous movies, they don't call her Captain Marvel. They don't call her by her name. They just kind of say, "Oh, you're here too," and you, if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, are like, "Who is this?
Right.
Why is she so strong? Why have I never heard of her before?"
That's a good point. We saw the previous Captain Marvel movie, and I was hoping for a little more out of her, but if you haven't seen the Captain Marvel movie and were just introduced to her in this film, you're going to be very confused.
Yeah, and speaking of as well, this movie has a real bad case of, who is that guy? Every time,
it does.
Like, half the cast is on the screen.
Especially
does. After, and again, spoilers, even more than you had before. After a certain point in the movie, they do, undo the snap, and everybody's back alive again.
Yeah.
But, yeah, when they come back, there's like 4 or 5 heroes where I'm like, who's that guy? Who's him?
Yeah, to be honest...
Who's that guy? How come Captain America's giving this guy a shield? Who is that guy?
To be honest, I was asking Nick who the hell is what, and just before we started recording, like, who is that person again? Who was the blue lady? Oh, Nebula. Oh, cool, thanks, man.
I think the question I had most of all that really bothered me through the movie was, who's this blue Iron Man? How come he has, like, the future Iron Man tech? Like, the alien tech? Iron Man from the really dumb comic arc? It turns out it's like Pepper Potts. Like, she's just kind of in a suit.
That surprised me.
It surprised me because that's against Tony Stark's character to bring her to the battlefield. Like, no, you don't bring your wife to the battlefield.
Well, okay,
he
didn't. She kind of came of her own.
When did she show up?
Off screen, like everyone else. I don't know.
You mean through the convenient circles?
All right, so that's one nitpick, and I will agree with this nitpick. What are your other negative nitpicks on this movie?
I think that the Wakandans get a lot of like these really weird close-ups of like, hey, look, it's the guys from that Black Panther movie you all love so damn much. We didn't think you'd like it, but they're here, and then they never do anything.
They kicked ass.
No, they didn't kick ass, because every time you see like a major, like an army angle of them, it's always the wizards that are doing stuff. It's never the Wakandans doing anything.
I completely forgot there was an army of wizards, but
I think my other nitpick is that this movie has a real bad case of like, check out this person that you know when I didn't know them, and like
I'll say that,
like especially with the lady who's on the Pegasus.
Yeah.
I was like, who is this?
Right.
Well, why is she getting constant screen time during this battle? Like, she's everywhere in this battle. What's up with her?
Right, or
she's someone.
And this is a personal nitpick of mine. Where were the other members of her group? There was more of them. There was a fat one. There was, I think, a rogue-ish one. There was a fancy man.
I'm sure they were somewhere. This movie has so much fan wank, it can't contain itself.
No kidding.
Speaking of, that's my last nitpick, is that this movie, you can feel the fan wank coming off of the screen. Like, they're trying so hard to get you to cream your fucking pants every time your favorite superhero does something. Like, oh my god, Iron Man got the things from him. Oh my god. Yeah, there's a lot of those scenes where, like, like the Spider-Man suddenly has like spider leg thingies that come out of his suit. It's like, when did that happen? I saw that movie. I don't remember that being a thing.
Okay, yeah, that's a nitpick of mine, because in a scene where he has that technology, he says activate kill mode, and that bothers me. Spider-Man doesn't kill.
Speaking of, if we're talking about like the ethics of the heroes, they just kind of go up to Thanos and chop his head off in vengeance, and they don't make a big deal of that at all. And since we're in full spoiler mode, I'll add an addendum to that as well, which is that the entire final fight scene is entirely pointless.
I disagree. I thought it was entertaining.
It's entertaining, and it's what we're here for, but it's completely pointless in the story. Because the whole point of the story is that Iron Man tricks Thanos, gets the gauntlet, and sacrifices his life to wish away his army and Thanos.
Which, cool. But
it's a nice stand-up for Robert Downey Jr. as well, of course.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And Captain America as well.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
And yeah, so if you're just looking for the kill tally on whose contracts are probably over, Black Widow's contract is definitely over. Captain America's contract is over, and Iron Man's contract is over, which means that we're going to be getting new versions of all three of those heroes most likely, and probably Hawkeye as well.
Now, mind if I go into my nitpicks real quickly?
Sure.
Okay. What was some of the hairstyles with some of the heroes? Like, what was Hawkeye's hairstyle? I absolutely
It was so
hated
anime. It was so anime. Oh my god.
I hated that.
I suspect that's part of the continuing problem of Marvel movies I've noticed, which is that they kind of stopped giving a shit about adapting from the comic book.
I agree. There was...
Although, speaking of, the plot does not follow the comic book arc, which is where, like, Gamora gets Nebula gets the glove, and she, like, tries to do a snap, then, like, Thanos teams up with the hero to get her to not use it, and then he, like, regretting his action, snaps everyone back. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. But yeah, the hairstyles look really stupid in this movie.
The hairstyle is awful. Same with Black Widow's, especially in the opening scene of the movie.
Yeah, hers looks okay.
I didn't like it.
It's not like Hawkeye levels of bad.
Also, and speaking of bad, the Ruffalo Hulk thing.
The Ruffalo.
The Ruffalo Hulk.
He looks weird. Like, I get that they're trying to, like, paint him as, like, Thanos looking, because he's supposed to look very much like Thanos. He even does, like, the same poses when, like, he gets the gauntlet on and, like, he's in pain. He's supposed to be, like, very comparable to Thanos in that moment, where he's embraced both sides of his nature. And
I get why they did it, I really do, but I just did not know. It didn't look good, and even how he did it was dumb. He spent 18 months in gamma radiation? What the hell?
Oh, yeah, speaking of, I think another thing I'll talk about with this one is the 5-year time skip is kind of lazy.
Yeah.
And along with that, there's a lot of scenes in this movie where like they tried some comedy from like other movies. Like there's a lot of like Ant-Man style comedy.
Some of it worked.
A lot of the Ant-Man style comedy didn't work. Like you don't have Peter Parker around, so you can't just do these rapid fire name drops of different movies.
Well, Peter Parker can't be the only funny guy in that. I mean,
well, he's not the only funny guy, but they do this thing where like they reference a bunch of other movies when they talk about time travel, and then their version of time travel doesn't make sense either. But like they named up like 20 movies in the span of maybe 30 seconds, I want to say. And then like if you have like a thing where you'd have Peter Parker say that if he was around, but you just have these two characters who aren't really known for doing these kinds of referential humor doing it, which it was flat.
That didn't bother me. I mean, it was just, you know, transient, trivial, whatever. Two more nitpicks, if I may.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a question for you. So, did the Nebula shoot the past version of herself?
Yes.
And that had no repercussions?
No.
I'm irritated by that, but that's just me. That's just me because, you know, I mean, that should be...
Split reality stuff or something, who cares?
Wait, whatever, you're right.
It's time travel.
Again, that's just a little personal nitpick. And then secondly, Loki never got resolved.
Oh yeah, you mean the alternate universe one where he got the thingy and then just disappeared?
Yeah, that they never. I mean, and then somehow got it back. Like how?
Well, that may have been what happened in the actual universe. Is like he dropped the briefcase and then like Loki stole it and teleported away. But no, that's not how it. I don't know.
I don't know. Either.
I don't know.
It's time travel. Yada yada yada.
Yeah. So I mean, there's this like very cute Loki thing where like he gets the thing, teleports, and pisses off, and then that's it. I think that another bugbear of mine is time travel plots are always dumb, and in this case they felt like a real asshole. Because talk about the structure of it for a moment. The movie begins really high octane, where they kind of say, "Let's go murder Thanos," and everyone says, "Yeah, let's murder Thanos." And they get there, and Thanos says, "I destroyed the things," and then they murder Thanos anyway.
I know he went the way of Count Dooku.
But then after that, there's like a good 30-45 minutes of the movie just meandering, where it's just like, well, everything sucks. Everything's not awesome.
Okay, I feel like they had to do that on purpose just to kind of illustrate the.
No, I think that was all fat. They could have trimmed all of that shit.
I disagree. You do have to appropriately illustrate.
No, the audience is not dumb enough to think, oh man, they're all permanently dead. It's just going to be 3 hours of them moping and moving on past the deaths of everyone. Ah, jeez. No, people aren't that dumb. They walked into the theater knowing, okay, how are they going to bring, what bullshit are they going to pull to bring back everyone? And then, like, of course they do, because no shit, there's a Spider-Man movie coming out after this.
Well, okay, now this is where I will argue with you on this. I mean, it's all an affiliation with a theme, I believe. Theme of loss.
You don't need to have a movie that is 3 hours long, where a good hour and a half of it is them moping around doing nothing.
Well, how can you not mope? How can you not mope? Half your team is dead.
You could have them do it in a montage of maybe 3-4 minutes, and then Ant-Man.
Montage, come on.
Well, would you rather have 45 minutes of no plot?
I mean, I believe it was...
I was legitimately sitting there for a good 40 minutes of the movie thinking, okay, what bullshit are they going to pull to finally get the stones back? Come on, can we just get on with it? Yes, I know that you're very sad. Very sad, Captain America. Yes, I know that this nice
they had to harden their
man
resolve. I mean, you can't...
Yes, I'm glad this nice homosexual man had a date. They both cried, and they had a second date.
Homosexual man, which one?
Do you remember in the very beginning of the movie where they're having the AA meeting type thing, and the guy's like, "Well, I went on a date with a guy."
Oh shit, that's right.
And then he cried at the salad. I cried just before dessert, and then after that one, we agreed to do another date, so that's nice. And then like that scene has no point.
No, that particular one has no point. But
how about the scene where they try to meet up, and then Iron Man's like, "No, I don't like any of you," and then like 20 minutes later, he's like, "This just kidding. I love you guys, and I figured it all out." Without any prompting.
That's predictable. I mean,
it's predictable. It's boring, and we didn't need it in the movie.
But the heroes have to harden their resolve somehow after coming out of a period
this is
of
a
loss.
sequel. This is a sequel. Remember that.
But everyone died at the end of the first movie.
We had the 10 minutes of everybody turning to dust and the horror of that one. We can have another 10 minutes.
Well, there's the horror of the death, not the grieving and moving on process.
Yeah, you can have another 10 minutes of that in the next movie as a continuation of that. And then you move on to, oh, here's where the plot thread is, instead of meandering for doing nothing for a good 40 minutes.
I didn't think it was meandering. I thought it was, it just demonstrated how...
Less than how emotional the loss of those characters who definitely aren't coming back in about an hour.
But, they don't know that. The characters
They don't know that, but the audience does. This is for the audience, not the characters.
Well, this is still part of the storytelling.
No, it's not part of the storytelling. There's no part of the hero's journey where you begin like the middle part of the wheel with, and this is the part where the heroes meander and have no plot.
Well, I would be insulted if they just did a montage. Like, wait, you know what I mean? They just move on just like that? Come on.
Well, they don't move on just like that. There's 10 minutes of them establishing each of their sadnesses, and then we move on to, hey guys, I just time traveled here from the past, and we can go and do pine particles. Speaking of, pine particles are bullshit, and I am baffled. I am baffled that they chose to include pine particles so heavily in this movie, because they make no fucking sense. They never have.
Okay, I didn't see Ant-Man any of the movies at all, so I was totally lost on the...
This isn't just Ant-Man. This is like in the comics even. Pine particles make no fucking sense. And if you think about it, the way Ant-Man works, the way his suit's supposed to work is basically it condenses the atoms, but he keeps the same atom count. So I mean that if he punches you when he's tiny, he hits as if he's full size. And if he's giant, he would still logically hit as hard as if he was regular size, right? Except it doesn't work that way. He hits really hard when he's tiny, but he also hits even harder when he's giant. And also pine particles can time travel. And apparently Thanos is so familiar with pine particles that he can get a vial of them and say, these are pine particles. I know exactly how to use these to time travel to the
Avengers. Yeah, he did kind
thing.
of catch on that very quick. Like, wait, how the hell do you know that?
He just got a red vial. He gets a little vial of red stuff and he's like, these are pine particles. I can use these to time travel to the future where they got all the stones for me. And then, it's bullshit. Pine particles are bullshit. Time travel's bullshit.
I will agree time travel is bullshit, because as we already discussed, Nebula shot herself, no repercussions. What the fuck? Anyway.
It's because the past is the future, and the future is your present.
Timelines, branches, yada yada yada.
It's stupid. They don't even try to explain it, which is fine. We can ignore that. And I will admit, the nice thing about the time travel plotline is that we do get these little moments for the characters that are about to retire. Captain America gets to see his lover.
Right.
Iron Man gets to meet his father. So on.
It's a nice reconciliation / requiem kind of thing. A final curtain call for some of the greats.
Mm-hmm. And if we want to move on to the things we liked about the movie.
Yeah, let's.
If we're out of complaints.
I've no more nitpicks.
If any more come up, I'll mention them.
Oh, yeah, same.
First thing I did think this was a nice send-off for the characters that they were retiring.
Yeah.
I think that for the fight scenes, there's a particularly good fight, which is during the when they're trying to get the Soul Stone, and Hawkeye and Black Widow are trying to decide who they're going to sacrifice. They both want to sacrifice themselves, so they have a fight where they're constantly sabotaging each other's attempts to commit suicide.
I like that.
I like that fight quite a bit. It's a fight that has a purpose. It's a fight where during the fight you can see the emotional struggle of both these characters, even if one of them has ridiculous anime hair.
And that fucking hair.
It's a great moment in the movie.
It is.
And it's part of the benefit of this movie versus Infinity War, which is with a much smaller cast of characters, you can give them each time to have at least a moment or two of growth. Which is a big plus for the smaller cast.
It really is. No, that's one of my biggest pros for this movie. Some of the second bananas, or characters you don't normally see, get really big moments, and that's refreshing.
Although Rocket got nothing.
Rocket had dialogue. That was...
He had dialogue.
No,
he didn't have any moments.
Chris Pratt had moments too. I mean, no, it was...
Everybody has moments, but that's not actual character growth.
It's like you said, it was a tighter cast. I mean, compared to the smorgasbord of characters we got in the last movie.
Well, I mean, it all goes to shit after they bring everyone back, but that's neither here nor there.
No, it does become a chaotic cavalcade after that. But, no, I mean, like I said, the second bananas, or characters you don't normally see in the limelight, get a bigger limelight, like War Machine, Nebula.
Although, going back to one of my nitpicks, there are some moments where the tension is completely ruined by Captain Machina just showing up and fixing the situation instantly. Like at the very beginning, where you have Tony Stark kind of talking about, "This is my last recording. I don't know if we'll make it back. Pepper Potts, I love you." And then suddenly, hey, it's Captain Marvel, and she's going to fix the whole situation. Okay, cool. There's also the moment where the heroes look like, oh man, they have superior firepower, we have no good way of taking this out, we're going to get screwed, and then she just pops out of nowhere to blow up the whole ship herself.
Oh yeah, it takes out the whole mothership.
Just kind of plows through it. Although, the upside about Captain Machina being in this movie is that there is a great moment where she stops snapping his fingers the first time. He headbutts her. She isn't even phased. And then we see just how quick he can think because he immediately pulls one of the gems out, puts it in his hand, uses the gem, puts it right back in.
I agree. Thanos really is a remarkable character in both movies. I mean, he is resourceful. His philosophy is somewhat agreeable. I mean.
In the second movie, it becomes just generic. Well, that's it. I gotta kill everyone. Guess I gotta do this.
He does get down-noted as a generic villain, but I mean, really, the movie, he's not as pivotal in the first half of the movie as he was in the first movie.
Well, he's pivotal in the whole movie because he did it. He succeeded.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean...
and then they pulled some Deus Ex bullshit to undo what he did.
Yeah. Time travel.
Time travel. But I like Thanos in this movie. His dialogue does get a bit of a downgrade, and he does come across much more as, like, just insane and not as someone who is badly misguided and has a very flawed philosophy that he's holding to nonstop.
He still clings to that philosophy, and he does cite that here or there, but not as much as he did in the first one.
He talks about, like, I guess I was misguided. There will always be those that are unworthy of being saved. I'll have to annihilate all of them and then make a new universe out of that.
That's true. He does kind of grow insaner right at that scene there. That's a good point.
he gets kind of generic. It's a little bit of a shame, but he's still interesting as a villain, and he still proves that without the gauntlet, he is ridiculously powerful. And that's the other thing I'll say is that for all my complaints about like, it's fan wink, there's so much fan service going on in this whole fight, it's of course the point of the movie, and it's
right.
Fun. It's fun.
It's a comic book movie, and it is very entertaining. Yes, a lot of the budget was really allocated to the effects, but you know, I mean, what else do you expect from a Marvel movie?
I mean, it has its moments for sure where it manages to approach a somber tone, but generally it kind of feels a little bit cheap because everybody in the mother's coming to that theater knowing, okay, they're going to fix this and bring everyone back. You don't deserve to have this somber tone early on. Like, come on, we're not idiots. We know that Spider-Man Homecoming 2 is coming out.
Yeah, we all knew he was coming back alive. We saw the trailers.
Yeah, so if we like, then we can go ahead and just get into the different categories we usually talk about. Now that we've gotten our nitpicks and our loves out of the way.
Yeah.
Characters, as I've mentioned a few times, this movie does much better with characters than Infinity War did.
Because of the tighter cast.
It's got a tighter cast. We get to have moments of growth for the characters who are getting retired. It feels a little bit like a love letter to its own stuff, especially with time traveling back to the major scenes from each movie, which felt a little cheap, but whatever.
No, it was a nice curtain call to the whole series as a whole.
Well, not the whole series, no way. It's just a curtain call to the original members.
Well, they didn't have... Okay, side note, don't stick toward the end of the credits, there's nothing there. Which...
Yeah. They mentioned that a few times.
I didn't hear of it. But, I mean, they do kind of insinuate, you know, next generations of heroes will rise, which could inspire reboots, but really this particular arc is over.
Actually, I have one question, though.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that Captain America gave his shield to?
Black Falcon.
Who's Black Falcon?
1960s, 1970s African-American superhero with the bird gimmick.
Okay.
I mean, he has no superpowers. He just has mechanical wings. I mean, I think in some comics he has superpowers.
So speaking of characters, I think the character with the most, the best arc is probably Captain America because he gets to use a hammer.
That was awesome.
That was a nice fan wink.
Yeah,
that was one where even I was like, oh, that's cool.
No, you know, I mean,
that's pretty neat. Look at that way he's using the lightning thing.
And Thor is just like, I knew it. And he says that with a smile. Cheek to cheek. Big smile.
So speaking of Thor, he's kind of just like really fat and schlubby in this movie.
He became...
Which I always appreciate when characters are like that in movies, first of all. Like, I liked the Peter Parker that was fat and schlubby and like realistic in the previous movie.
It humanizes them, yeah.
Spider-Man, Far Away From Home.
Makes him more realistic. No. He did a total Big Lebowski. He looked like the dude.
There is one shot in the movie that I remember where right after Tony Stark's funeral, we go to a close-up of him looking over the cliff, and it is shot for shot exactly like how they introduced the dude as he's spreading Walter's ashes over the cliff.
That's so true. Good point.
And I was thinking, oh my god, are they going to do the scene where like Tony Stark's ashes get blown all over Thor? And then Steve's just there like, oh, sorry man, sorry, I didn't mean to get that in your beard. I was hoping for that. It would have been the worst send-off, but I was hoping for it.
Because, I mean, I enjoy The Big Lebowski. I don't care what you say.
I am so glad that Chris Hemsworth did apparently renew his contract and chose to go on the Avengers. That is a character that has a lot of fun with that whole cast.
Ooh, that's true. That's true. That actually makes me very excited. I'm glad you told me this.
Well, I don't know if he's actually renewed his contract. I'm not an insider yet. But,
you know a guy.
But yeah, the movie ends with setting him up as being part of the Guardians of the Galaxy,
which is cool.
It's fun. It's definitely fun. It's a fun cast they have assembled for the Guardians.
Yeah. Any other characters of note? Well, okay.
I mean, Iron Man does his usual shtick of like, I'm responsible, I have a family, but I also want to have fun fighting bad guys. But I'm a hero, and I'm going to sacrifice myself to snap my fingers.
You may be inevitable, but I'm Iron Man.
That was so dumb. Alright, yeah, that's another nitpick. Never mind. There were some really fucking dumb lines in this movie. Like, at the point where Iron Man is in his life, he would never say, and I am Iron Man. He would probably say, I am Tony Stark, if anything.
I was hoping for something a little wittier, but whatever. I rolled with it.
It's so dumb. And then the other dumb line is when, like, Captain America, with this literal army behind him, just kind of whispers, Avengers, assemble.
Okay, now they had to
that
do
was
that
so
because
lame.
It was
so
a dumb. Yeah, they had to do that.
lame.
It was a homage to older comics.
It was an homage to themselves. Don't give me that shit.
It was, and you know they had to do that.
They tried so hard to establish this tone of like we're not a silly comic book movie. We care about this, and then they do shit like Avengers assemble.
They had to do that. They had to do that.
They didn't have to do it, and I hate them for it. It's a little angry. But the other thing is, there's a scene where during the battle, where you have like all of the female heroes show up at once to do like a female empowerment type.
I wasn't bothered by that at all.
I wasn't bothered by it, but it felt a little bit like it was pandering.
It was pandering because I think that was like a comic book arc. It was like Birds of Prey, you know what I mean?
Not
like,
a comic book arc. What are you talking about?
Wasn't there like a big comic book thing where all the females kind of team up and form a team? Wasn't there, or am I?
No, this was just during the battle where like for some reason all the women show up at once to fight a bunch of people. They just kind of all teleport there from the battlefield.
Which cool.
And sure, like, I don't have a problem with it, but it did feel a little bit like pandering, and it felt a little bit cheap for the movie.
Who do you think it was pandering to? Like female empowerment and what have you?
Yeah, bad film.
Female empowerment. Okay.
It was a little bit on the nose, and I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. You have to have this scene in your big tentpole movie where people will think that you're a shitlord.
All right. Did we get all the nitpicks? There's gonna be a few more nitpicks probably along the way. I'm sure we'll think of something.
I don't believe I got your opinion on the characters though, since we're still talking about characters.
So cast was good. Cast was good. It was tighter. Some good character development, but some of the characters were downplayed, like Captain Marvel and Nick Fury. Nick Fury was only in it for like one
Nick Fury was there
scene.
for the funeral.
Nitpick. Thor's girlfriend, played by what was her name?
I don't think it was her because we never saw her face.
We saw her face.
We saw her face in flashbacks. We never saw her face when Rocket's going to stick her.
Oh, that wasn't actually her. That was a scene from a previous movie.
Oh no! I'm pretty sure that was just. Well, it could have been a scene from the previous movie actually, because Rocket is CGI after all.
He is, but I mean,
it could have been shot for shot a scene that was taken from the previous Thor movie and just.
I believe that. I could believe that. I just thought it was like, okay, so they brought her back for this one bit. I feel like
probably not. They brought back Thor's bomb though.
They did, and I mean, again, reconciliation and closure. That's what they were ultimately doing, and Thor does have mommy issues, and he just has. He has.
The dude got over it.
It is funny that they kind of came back to that, because he lost a lot of friends to Thanos. That happened last movie.
Well, this was all returning back to the first Avengers cast and kind of retiring each of the characters, getting through their plot arc, and resolving them. Mm-hmm. Whether or not they actually got retired, except for Bruce Banner, who just kind of like figured his shit out over the 5 years, and he's like, "Yeah, I figured it out. Actually, I'm in a good place right now."
The Ruffalo again.
Ruffalo.
Ruffalo,
yeah.
Ruffalo. The Ruffalo was just weird. It was weird. I mean, again, I see why they did it, but I didn't like how they went about it. But anyway,
if they keep him as a permanent CGI green monster man, that's going to be pretty funny for future movies.
It is. No, great character improvement through some, down notes of other.
Alright, next up, effects. Let's start with you.
Effects. I mean, I think we already gave our spiel about effects, you know? I mean, you could clearly see where all the budget went for this movie. The effects, and, well, and it was 80% of it was pretty good. 80,
yeah.
90, 20% of it was just absurd in some areas, but yeah.
A lot of money went to the effects. It shows.
Yeah.
I think that they may have cheaped out on effects in one or two places to compensate. Like,
yeah.
Especially when the Hulk meets, what's-her-face, the bald woman. And she just does, like, this very mundane, like, here's a line. Here's a bad line. And that's it for the magician lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, the effects are, they're pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much all. I mean,
I barely ever noticed that the whale monster was actually CGI the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Or the gorilla monsters that apparently they have.
Was that in the last movie? I felt like that wasn't.
I don't think it was. I think that they were just kind of like fleshing out, like, oh, they have gorilla monsters too, the big guys.
They're like introducing. I think they're trying to build more video games. You know, introduce bigger baddies to fight.
The whole thing's a video game.
It is. It really is. Choose your character.
Next up, themes. I don't think there were that many themes in this one.
I disagree. Again, it was grief. Moving on from grief, how you cope with grief.
Except for the whole part of the movie where they say, fuck grief, we're going to bring everyone back.
Well, yeah, they do that, but I mean, it was kind of important for some of the characters, because they did.
No, it wasn't important. It wasn't important in the end at all.
In the end, no. But in the...
for the entire story...
Well, in the beginning...
For the beginning, which was a 45-minute ramble of pointlessness until they found the plot. I'm sorry, what was the plot of the first 45 minutes of this movie?
How to move on after what Thanos did.
That's not a plot.
Well, then they realized how they could reverse this. I mean, like...
That's when they found the plot thread.
So would you rather them just jump right into how they could figure out how to reverse it?
Yes.
Why?
Just start the movie with Ant-Man getting out of his thing and being like, I can fix this, guys!
That would just be so spontaneous and random. Well, it kind of was, but...
It would give you the uplifting tone that you want going into the sequel.
Uplifting tone? Yeah, but people died. How could you possibly make that uplifting?
Because nobody's stupid enough to think they're actually dead.
Not permanently, but it was a somber
Nobody's
scene.
dumb enough to think they're dead. The audience is not that dumb.
Alright, they did pull a Dragon Ball. We all knew this was going to have a happy ending, but come on. There has to be... The heroes have to harden their resolve.
The characters can be sad, but don't pretend like you're some artsy movie that we're like, oh yeah, everyone's really, really dead. Yeah, no, they went to fight Thanos, but like, it was pointless. Oh man, everyone's gotta be sad for the next 45 minutes until we remember that, oh hey, Prime Particle's a bullshit.
But, so it did exhibit so it exhibited grief and how different heroes coped with grief. Like,
Sure, there's 40
Take the Thor.
Thor. Alright, I want to ask a different way then.
Sure.
So, Captain America, do you remember how he was coping with grief?
How? Just
this is a question for you.
Throwing himself at work?
This is a question for you to make sure this is actually important for the story. So, how did Captain America cope with the grief within those 5 years?
Okay, Captain America, he threw himself at his work.
He didn't.
He didn't?
He specifically says, look, how about you just lay off of the work, try to move on and really rebuild an actual life instead of throwing yourself at your work, Black Widow. He's going to the AA meetings, right? Well,
the veterans, the survivor meetings.
Here's the important part. How did that actually impact anything he does in the movie?
It doesn't.
It actively doesn't, because he not only doesn't move on, he actually ends the movie by going back in time to spend time with the woman he loved and never got over.
No, he didn't get over that.
How does Tony Stark move on? There should be an easy one.
He has a family of his own.
Right. Right now, what's the other thing he does as far as when he's approached with false hope?
When he's approached with false hope?
What he sees as false hope. He spurns it out of hand. He immediately says, no, I've got a family, I've got something going here, I don't want to risk losing it. Now, how does that fear of losing what he has, and losing his life, and leaving his child to grow up without a father, actually play out and be important over the movie?
Well, again, he experienced loss and through his own way, through Spider-Man. He lost.
Yes, and then he got him back immediately, which was a nice little scene for a send-off.
The audience knew it was going to get him back.
The audience knew that. Now, how did it actually impact him as a character over the course of the actual plot, which is going back in time and getting the MacGuffins? How about Thor? How does he cope over the course of that?
Alcoholism and seclusion.
Now, does that ever come back over the course of the movie?
No, because he overcomes those.
How? How does he overcome it?
His mom kind of gives him a pep talk.
He gets a pep talk from his mom, and he's cured.
Yeah, and he also gets a pep talk from Ruffalo.
So that means that as far as Captain America goes, it was a pretty pointless thing because his idea of moving on and building a life for yourself doesn't happen. Not until at the end where they're setting off the characters. Iron Man, his fear of losing his family and fear of risking anything for himself because he doesn't want to hurt his family doesn't pay off because he risks everything to this one and risks on a second jump that may or may not pay off. Thor's thing, his alcoholism and his fear, neither of those come back. He gets a pep talk from mommy, and that's about it.
The mom thing was weird.
So that 45 minutes of nothing didn't matter at all.
Alright.
Now, effects, themes, story.
Was there any other... No, that's pretty much...
I guess that there's also Hawkeye, but who gives a shit about Hawkeye?
Oh, that stupid fucking hair.
Like, Hawkeye gets real edgy and murders people, and then nobody calls him out on it. During the Hollow meeting, they actively say, I don't think I want to catch him.
That's right.
You have a mass murderer who's going around inflicting vigilante justice in a world with no world government. So speaking of, they mention that line as a throwaway of most of the world governments have collapsed.
They have.
And they don't ever bring up that, hey, you're bringing all these people back into a world with no governments.
Okay, you're right. They do not give a shit about civilians. They don't really pay much of an effort to help rebuild society, but I mean...
And they help some minor disasters, but they don't offer any kind of stability at all through the organization.
Which
like that.
Brings us back to goddamn Captain Marvel. She doesn't even stay on Earth. I mean...
She mostly just kind of gives a hand-wavy line of, yeah, well, there's all the minorities that matter, and then, just pisses off for the rest of the movie until we need her again.
Which, come on, you have people on this planet, too. Come on.
Well, they have the Avengers. They're not lucky enough to have you guys.
You're also, we're a team, and just flies off anyway, so, okay, fuck teams then, until the end of the movie.
I think that's going to be Now, I think that what they're doing with the story, though, with the 5-year gap, is they're setting up a lot of the plot hooks for future movies. Because there's a lot of stuff that happens during the 5 years that they don't really touch on much in this movie.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
For each of these characters. I'm pretty sure if we get Black Panther 2, it's going to be all about, in those 5 years, we had a new king. I was allowed back in as de facto leader, but they had a council in the meantime.
Right.
Or with Spider-Man, I have a 5-year gap in my education. There are students that are way ahead of me and way older than me.
Right.
My mother didn't get snapped, and now she's much older.
Right.
And so on. These are things that are going to come back in the next movies, which is it's an interesting way to move on to the next phase of Marvel, I guess.
Right. That's kind of a theme in this movie. Transition. So, I mean, as one era closes, another kind of begins.
Well, I mean, as they keep saying in the movie, which isn't true, moving on, which they don't move on. Nobody moves on. We constantly keep going back to the past.
Which, they, like you said, Marvel does kind of kiss its own ass with this by going back to all the previous films it worked on, but, yeah.
I guess it's trying to set up the Birdman as the next Captain America.
A black Captain America, why not?
Well, because he has a wingsuit already, and I think that's about all I know about him.
Hey, because I'm a Falcon, isn't it? No, a bald eagle, never mind. I was going to make a reference what's more American than... Captain America? Captain America with eagle wings, but they're falcon wings, so never mind.
And then the story for this movie, if you care to hear about it, you probably know what it is, though. Everything seems lost. They realize they can go back in time to get the stones, so they go back in time to different points of time to get the stones.
Everything seems lost like Nixon. Then Ant-Man comes back and says, "Hey, I have an idea. How to fix this."
They go back in time, get their MacGuffins. But when they go back in time, the Thanos from the past is like, "Oh, hey, these guys are from the future. Fuck these guys. Let's just go in the future with them." And then he does, and then everybody fights. And then Tony Stark gets the thingy and snaps his fingers, and then he murders like an entire army.
Yeah.
Cold blood.
Yeah.
Well, not cold blood, but he murders an entire army. And then he dies. Steve goes back in time to live out his life.
They both get decent send-offs.
They get send-offs, yeah. And then like there's some for the next movies.
Yeah. Like new leaders, new heroes. I mean, I wouldn't be too terribly surprised if they were trying to set up new young Avengers or what have you.
Although I feel like it's gotta be a little bit weird for Rocket, right? Like he spent 5 years without his crew, and they're all back, and they don't know why he's so excited and happy to see them again. What's with you, Rocket? You're so emotional.
Time travel's bullshit. Time travel's bullshit. Because I mean, Peter Parker when Tony Stark hugged him like, oh, hey,
this is nice.
like, oh, I don't know what happened, but yeah, this is nice. So casual about it.
Oh, yeah, he has some good moments. He is my favorite Spider-Man so far, of course.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, but you know the story. It's resolving the previous movie.
Well, and it's also like you said, and I mean, of course these characters were going to come back. Yeah, there was a trailer for a Spider-Man movie.
If you thought that they were going to do anything artistic or interesting with this premise of like half the universe being wiped out, you're wrong.
Just a big curtain call,
right,
really.
Like the things you can explore are apparently people being sad and let's fix it. That's it. Like, there's got to be at least one story somewhere where someone was really happy that their parents got snapped, but they didn't. Or, like some kid who's, like, in a horribly abusive household who, mid-beating, his dad gets wished away, and he's like, Thanos is a god. There's no worshippers of Thanos. There's none of the interesting stuff that would come from this story.
Then again, would people of Earth be briefed on what exactly? I think they would be briefed.
Well, imagine if, like, A, they just found out that intergalactic life exists, B,
magic exists,
it's insanely powerful,
yeah,
and C, it has wiped out half of every population. There would be an intergalactic cult that would form around Thanos, wouldn't there?
Good point. A Cthulhu-esque cult that would worship Thanos. That's a good point.
The Great Balancer.
Praise be to the purple man in the skies, who has vanquished suffering from the cosmos.
Praise be to Mr. Berlin.
I think
there's some lost opportunity, especially if they're diverting from the comic books.
There's definitely lost opportunities, because again, I was expecting more from Captain Marvel. I mean, even though she was a Deus Ex Machina character, I was hoping for more dialogue, because she did just get her own...
yeah.
She did just get her own movie.
I mean, there's some characters where you can tell, like, they clearly didn't have time to actually be in this movie, so they just showed up for a few minutes, got some shit CGI'd, and then just left. And I think that there's some running jokes in this movie where like, they try and, like, make it happen, and it just doesn't feel that funny. Like, America's Ass.
It's, like you said earlier, there's a certain degree of exhaustion, and, I mean, it's apparent in some scenes. It's apparent with Tony Stark. It's apparent with Captain America.
Really, it's just any scene with Ant-Man where like he tries to force the joke. You're like,
no, right. And even some of the writing, you do kind of see this exhaustion. Like, okay, this is the curtain call. We're done. We're done. And
yeah, there's one scene where like Hulk is like managing to take the stairs, and like it keeps cutting back to Hulk like taking the stairs and being like doing these comedic takes. It's one where, like, it was kind of funny the first time, second time he was on the stairs, and the third time he burst out of the stairs, no more stairs! And it's just like, okay, the joke's kind of funny, but it would have been better if you just did a hard cut to him bursting out of the door and being like, I hate stairs!
I mean, it was a lot of stairs, so... No, yeah, the second time you could have totally done without the second time, but...
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I feel like there's this whole Hulk plotline over the course of the two Avengers movies that kind of gets resolved really badly.
It does, because in the last movie, Hulk was so terrified of coming out.
Yeah, like in Infinity War, Hulk gets his ass beaten in. He's terrified of Thanos, doesn't want to fight him. And in this movie, he's resolved by like just kind of meditating on it and
being immersed in gamma radiation for 18 months. Like, yeah, that's it. They just say that, and like, they never touch that up again, which is so disappointing.
I think that's only there so that he can snap the gauntlet. I think that's the only reason they set that whole plot line is so that somebody can snap the gauntlet without like getting killed.
Well, couldn't he have just done that just in regular Hulk form, or did he have to? I mean, like, I don't know. That it was just so weird to me. Like you said, his thing got unresolved because Hulk was so terrified of coming back out because of that past
it got
from Thanos.
resolved. It just wasn't
off
satisfying.
screen.
It wasn't satisfying.
No, I was hoping for some kind of...
And the Janet scene where Hulk's playing this too, there's this really unfunny exchange that happens with Ant-Man where he's like, why don't you want to get a picture with Ant-Man? Okay, no, I guess you want... And like, it just keeps going after
it does.
it's funny.
It's just, that was just painful.
Yeah.
Good movie overall, in spite of our various nitpicks. Like,
I want to take a moment to talk about that for myself, at least. Is if I have to compare this with real movies, that is kind of a shit show.
Oh, okay, that's right. I did kind of want to talk to you about the standards you mentioned in the American recut. So, what was that term you used in the...
Real boy movie?
Yeah, okay, define that.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of these Marvel movies skate by on the idea of like, well, we're not real movies, we're just comic book movies. That's why you don't really have interesting characters, you use a lot of shorthand for characterizing people, you have to focus on effects over like a plot or dialogue.
Okay.
And, these things where like, you go in there and say, well, it's okay if it's kind of bad dialogue. It's a Marvel movie. It's okay if the story's not great. It's a Marvel movie. It's okay if we have like 6 characters who don't really get much of an arc. It's a Marvel movie.
Now, we could use the Captain Marvel movie itself as a kind of an example of this, right?
Sort of, yeah. I think that's the closest it comes to like having like, real movie standards.
Well, what would you use as a prime example for that standard?
Let's say John Wick.
Okay.
John Wick is probably the closest thing we have to a real boy movie, where like it actually has to play by standard movie standards. Well, it's still an action movie, and it's still there to have fun with being an action movie, right?
Yeah.
This is the closest I can get to a real fair comparison. And I think that John Wick, if I have to compare like John Wick with Avengers Endgame, John Wick is the far superior movie.
In terms of action?
No, in terms of like the characters, because John Wick has a clear motivation. The whole point of the movie is that it is a little bit childish of him to do this over the dog, but he is emotionally spurned. We have like real characters, we have real settings. Like we have an interesting setting of like the hotel, the idea of like this hotel of all these assassins that are there. We have some real interesting things about loss, grieving, and how he's not really grieving. He's actually just murdering people to hide from his feelings and using the dog as an excuse to vent his rage. That we have like real movie things that are in John Wick, whereas in Avengers we don't have real movie things. We have a stupid time travel plot where we have to just fix the direct issues of the movie. There's no deeper thoughts to this movie. It's just I'm sad because my friends are dead, but my friends can be alive again. And then like we don't have real characters. We have this guy has these superpowers, but this guy has these superpowers, but he can also use Thor's hammer. Isn't that so cool? We don't really have real effects. Like we don't have these effects where we have like practical camera effects. We don't have anything involving real camera movement. We don't have anything involving set design. We don't have anything involving like a real environment around them. We just kind of have set pieces for them to do their superhero stuff.
Okay.
So I think if I was going to compare it to a real movie, I would say it's kind of garbage. But this is a Marvel movie, and it's just stupid popcorn fun. So it's good for a Marvel movie.
Okay. So that's the standard. Thank you for
That's how I feel about Marvel movies. Is we don't judge them by real movie standards because they're just Marvel movies.
And I'll agree with you on a lot of those movies because Captain Marvel that was definitely I feel like a good example.
What Marvel movie would just qualify as a real movie? Like maybe Winter Soldier if you have kind of low standards.
It is still pretty comic booky. Okay, that's the word. Well, would you consider John Wick a little comic booky?
No. I consider it to be a pure action movie, which actually takes the time to establish a world, establish rules for how this world works, and come up with an interesting idea for this hotel of assassins.
Okay.
Like, it has some really interesting stuff that it does in those movies, and that's why people love them, is because it's not only a good action movie with like this really interesting way of filming combat, filming action, and making sure that actions are believable for the characters, but also has an interesting world and interesting characters behind it supporting it.
Interesting. Okay. All right, I'll agree with you on that. Because I saw John Wick as well, and I did enjoy it. Okay, but we're not talking about John Wick. We're talking about Marvel. And since we're probably, good lord, quite a ways into this recording, is there any final says you want to say about Avengers?
It's good for a Marvel movie. You know what to expect.
Yeah.
Tentpole.
Yeah, good movie. Definitely worth seeing in theaters, given the effects, and yeah.
It's very fancy, and as long as you forget that movies exist or have standards, it's a good movie.
Alright, well, thank you for joining us for the Ramble On, and my name is Brendan.
This has been Nick.